Hello, everybody. So now you're going to be working on the project, and one of the difficulties with the project is Git, right? So you learned about Git commands during the classes, but of course, when you're working on the project and working on branches, there are a little bit, when you're working together, there are some difficulties, but the main key is communication. If you communicate with each other, then you're going to be able to solve the problems, okay? So a good team member is the one who communicates with other team members. That's number one. Number two, of course, we're going to go over a couple of scenarios, which are the best practices that the companies use in this case, okay? So let me share my screen. I have a sample project here, right? Here I have a project, and I have shared this project here on GitHub. So in the GitHub, right, if you check there, you see that there is only one branch as of right now, which is the main branch and default branch. And if I go to my computer, I'm going to open the terminal. And then I will have to go to the, I'll have to go to the project. Okay, I need to delete one of the C's here. And then in the project here, right, in the project here, if I say git status, it tells me that I have no changes. And of course, if I say git branch, it also tells me that there is only one branch and I am currently on that branch, on main branch, okay? So what I can do, as I said, right, we want to work in branches. What you can do, guys, you can go here and you can say, let me see the branches. As of right now, there is only one of them, but I want to create a new branch. I want to work on feature one. That's why I'm going to create feature one branch, right? Feature one. And of course, you can name the branches as you wish. Sometimes they prefer to say feature slash and then the name of the feature you're working on, but I'm just going to make it simple, okay? Feature one. So the feature one branch has been created on GitHub, online repository. So if I go here, it says that there are two branches. And if I open here, there's the main branch, which is the default one, and the feature one branch. But on my computer, if I check here, as of right now, I only have the main branch, okay? I only have the main branch. So what I should do, I want to get the feature one branch that have been created here, okay? So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say git fetch. What git fetch does, git fetch says whatever there are the online, right? Whatever there are the online branches, you also pull them on our computer, right? You clone them on the computer, let's say, okay? So if I say now git branch, it still didn't create the branch locally. So if I say git branch -a, it shows the local branches and the online branches. So the online branches was this one at the beginning, and after I created branch feature one, now, right, I can see also feature one, okay? So now I'll say git checkout. And of course, the names here are very important. They have to match exactly the same. I have to say feature one, okay? Git check one, feature one. So when I say git checkout feature one, it not only copies the, like I go to the, I'm working on feature one right now, but also, right, if I say now in which branch I'm working, I also have switched to branch feature one, right? So it clones the feature one, and also I am, let's say I move to feature one. So what is a branch? A branch, as of right now, feature one branch and main branch, they are exact copies. So I will make changes here, and then I will have to put them, right, to merge them to the main branch. But of course, I'm not going to do them locally here in my, from my feature one branch to the main branch here locally. I will do them remotely on a, right, I'm do them remotely on a, doing a pull request, okay? So we're going to talk about pull request. So let me go to the project. So here I have some classes here and some feature files here, right, as you can see, as a normal project. So let me say that I want to add a new here, right? I want to add a new file, and then I'm going to call this one sample.feature. So when I create a new feature file here, this file has been created. So I can create a file on my project. Two, there is one extra step here. I can delete a file from my project. Okay, so I added a file here. I can delete a file by just saying here delete. And also I can modify a file. So I can go to calculator steps and say, you know what? Here I'm saying opening the browser. So you know what? I don't need this comment because because I already know what I'm doing, okay? Or I can also make another comment here, making the sleep 2000, okay? So in this file, I made two changes. The setup, I removed the comment, and I changed the thread.sleep. So as of right now, at this moment on my project, I made three changes. One, I edited the file. Two, I deleted the file. And three, I modified a file, okay? So let me go to the terminal and say git status. This one tells me that you have made three changes. One file is modified, one file is deleted, and one file is added, okay? So what I will do, I want to send this change that I made to my colleague Sabah, okay? So I'll say git add period. What this one does, let me say git status again. This files has been staged. So the changes, the deleting the files, adding the files, and modifying the files, these changes have been staged. Second command, git commit -m, and then I can say here F1 changes. Okay, so I have made feature 1 changes here. So let me commit. Now I want to push these changes from my feature 1 branch that I'm working here to my feature 1 branch online here. So what I can do, I can say git push, and then of course I can also say -u, right, origin. But as of right now, since those two branches have been connected one time, I just by saying git push, the changes have been pushed to my remote repository. So if I go here now, as you can see, feature 1 has a push a minute ago, right? There are a lot of in the GitHub, they have made a lot of changes, right? Also here I can see there are two branches, and then I can see that in feature 1, right? If I go to feature 1, it says that this branch is one commit ahead of the main, right? So there was a commit on the feature 1, it has been pushed to the online repository, and this one has changes related to the main branch. So what I will need to do, I will need to make a pull request. So how I do, normally, right, in some companies you can just directly work on the main branch, which is not a common practice. But in most of the companies, they say, you have to make the changes on your feature files, right, on your feature branches, and then you make a pull request. So what is a pull request? You're saying that I want to merge them from feature 1 to the main. As you can see here, it says you're able to merge. There are no problems. It doesn't seem any problems. If I want, I can change the name here, feature 1 changes, and then I say I create a pull request. Since I am a manager, let's say, right, or the owner of the repository, I can approve the pull request myself. But normally it's not a common practice. The common practice is what we're going to do right now. I'm going to ask Sabah, my colleague, to do the pull request, to approve my pull request. Yes, Sabah, can you share your screen?
Sure. All right, so we'll pick up where Elion left. So in this case, this was the previous view of this repository. As you see, we only had one branch. So if I refresh this page, then I'll see that here I have two branches. And if you notice also, I have a notification on a pull request. So that pull request has to do with the new request that Elion created here. And we can see that. Now, we already saw that Elion could merge that because both we are owners on the same repository, but typically that's not always accessible for everyone. So in this case, I will allow, so it seems fine, and we can move on to merge. So what this did now, it just updated our main branch. So the main branch now got those changes that Elion just pushed. So in this case, we added F1 changes, so feature 1 changes. All right, now the main is updated, but my local repository is not. So whenever someone pushes to the remote repository, it only updates that repository. So in this case, if I look into my repository, I don't have anything to add, fully new. I'm just started working, and this is always good. Please always, before you start adding something, make it a practice to check if there's something new. You can always check with git fetch or git pull as well, especially if you don't have anything new, it will just update your branch. Now, even if you check here, just to give a perspective, I just have a main branch here. Well, Elion has a feature 1. I don't have that. Why? Elion has it, and it is on the remote repository. I have not taken it. I have not taken anything from it. So right now, if I do a git pull here, it's only going to pull changes from the main to put them into the main local repository. So my local repository is here. So if I get those changes, so here you will be able to see that they are going to be added on my project. So as we saw earlier, Elion added a sample feature and did some changes here as well. So those are all now transferred here. So again, now I'm up to date. So there's nothing new on the main that I don't have. I want to start working on something new that I can add there. So that way Elion showed how you can create a branch on the online repository and then start working on your computer as well. Now here we can do that in a similar way, but without creating it first on the remote repository. So we were going to create a branch here locally, and then we're going to make some changes, and then I'm going to push them to the remote repository where I will put in a request for them to be merged with the main branch there. So in this case, how do we do that? And we have mentioned that we have multiple ways of doing the same thing, guys. So in case if I want to create a local branch here, I can just say git branch and give it a name. And if I want to create and move, I can just say git checkout with a flag B here and say feature 2. So this not only will create that branch, it will move to that branch as well. So if you create it with git branch main, then we need to use git checkout and the name of the branch to go there. In this case, if you notice, I not only have created it, but I also directly moved to that branch. Now, if you see, guys, on the top corner of my screen here, it still says calculator test automation main. So typically that will change if you refresh. Sometimes it just will take some time, but refreshing is always a good practice. So as you see now, this changed as well. Why? Because that's what Git does. It keeps track of what files, what changes I have on each branch. In this case, it changed now. It refreshed my project to include changes that I have on feature 2. So far, none, meaning I'm exactly on an identical copy of the main branch. Now here, I can do some changes as well. So let's say something Elion deleted here, we could change here because we are up to date. We got those changes. But always be careful when working on similar files. So instead, I can add here a new class. So we have some new steps here, and I could change something on the existing classes as well. And based on that, I can ask for everything to be pushed to the remote repository. So now what do we have, guys? We have, in this case, I have just a small change where I added a new file, and this is on the feature branch. And please be always careful whenever you're working on a branch and you have new developments there. When you move in between branches, you have to be careful of transferring files from one to another, or let's say unintentionally. So in this case, now let's say I'm finished adding this feature 2, so I want to send this feature 2 to the remote repository. Now, again, even here, we have different ways to do that. But what we're talking here is about let's say, best practice approaches. So what I can do here, I can say, I want to send this branch, and I want to push it to the remote repository. So I want everyone basically will be able, everyone with access to the repository will be able to see this. So I will add these changes, and I will commit these changes as well. And let's say feature 2 changes. And then I will say git push. Now, we have used git push a lot, and we know that if you just use git push, it will do whatever it was initially targeted to do, whatever it is linked to, right? And if you recall, the first time ever we create this, we say git push u, then origin main. Right? In this case, we have not said anything like that yet for the feature 2 branch. So what are we going to do? We're going to add a flag here, u, and we're going to say this is from origin to feature 2. So what we're just saying here, these changes that we have in this branch, we are sending it to the remote.
Sabah, before you Okay. I was gonna tell you to show that it's not there, but now you already did it. No problem.
Yes, too late now. So they'll have to trust us. All right, so what does it say here, guys? So in this case, it says that now we send this new branch there, which means we are tracking now from this feature 2 branch in my local repository. I'll be tracking this feature 2 branch on the remote repository. And if you notice, you have a link here as well. This link is provided if you want to create directly a pull request, which you don't have to go through this. Now that we have pushed this, I'll show that previously that feature was not here, but now as you see, it says very recently this was pushed. And you see we still have 2 branches here, so I have not refreshed the page yet. So if you follow that link provided on the Git bash, it leads you to the exact same link as this one does to create a pull request. So if I refresh this page, you'll see that pull request, you'll see now 3 branches as well. Now these developments are done. I'm going to say, let's go ahead and let's compare and pull and create a pull request here. Like Elion said, you can change here, you can write comments, you can explain here what you did and what those developments include. And basically the person who's responsible to approve your merge then will be able to check on those. And always this is very simple to see. So what we're trying to do, we are going to put feature 2 changes into main as arrow indicates. So I'm going to say create a pull request, and I'm going to let Elion take care of that.
Now, 1 second, Sabah. Since you are the boss, we can show that you, if you want to, you can also approve yourself.
Yeah, in this case, we both have owner access. So in this situation, we both can confirm these changes too, right? So it should now update, it updates the main. So main is now updated with the feature 2 changes that I pushed.
So
all right.
Can I start sharing?
Sure.
So in some of the companies, right, they have set up the GitHub in a way that when somebody creates a pull request, then there should be 2 people to approve it. Let's say one is the supervisor, one is his peer, or however they have set it. So there are different ways to set it on the GitHub. In our case, since we're both owners, we can approve it ourselves, or we can approve each other's requests. So let me continue. So Sabah, right, what Sabah did, he created a feature 2 on his computer, and then he pushed feature 2 online, right, as you can see here. And then also he made a pull request to put the changes from feature 2 to the main branch, and then he was also able to approve it. Now let me go to my computer. In which branch I am right now? I am in branch feature 1. Why? Because I was working on feature 1, and then Sabah did some changes, right? So Sabah told us, we said the communication is the key, right? Sabah told me, or the whole team, he said, I made some changes, and can you please approve it? Somebody approved it, and they say, okay, please get the changes because now you want to be up to date, right? So I don't need to be on main, right? Even though the changes was done in feature 2 and they were merged in main, I am still on feature 1, right? And if I see here, I don't have the changes. Let me refresh it here. I don't see the new clause that Sabah added, not yet, but I can get the change. The change was done in feature 2 and was merged into the main. So I am still in feature 1 in my branch, and I can say git. If I say git pull, I am pulling from feature 1 remotely to feature 1 locally. That was the short commands that they do. But I can say, you know what? I want to pull from the origin, which means from the internet, right? From the GitHub, and then main. This one says, you don't pull it from feature 2. You're pulling from the online repository main branch, right? So we're talking about the main branch, which the changes are done. So after I run this command, I am able to get the changes that are done by Sabah. So if I go to the project and if I refresh, then I will be able to see the new clause that Sabah has added, right? And then I can continue working on my files, and I can continue working right on the files that he added. So this is scenario 1, which is the simplest scenario. He makes changes, I'm not working. He gives me changes and I get them. I make changes, he's not working, and then I send changes to him. But of course, we're gonna, maybe not today, maybe another day, we're gonna do scenario 2 where he makes changes, but I'm also working. So when I get the changes from him, then if I'm working and then I have my own changes, what should I do? That will be covered on scenario 2. So for tonight, bye bye.